The NHL never saw this coming. The Colorado Avalanche entered the 2025-26 season with a peculiar situation regarding an injury with their starting goaltender in Mackenzie Blackwood, which made him unable to start the season in between the pipes for Colorado. Now, considering that Mackenzie Blackwood was acquired during the early parts of last season in the hopes that he would become our starting goaltender and kind of the rock of our team as far as being able to be a consistent goaltender throughout the season, the fact that we were going to have to rely on our backup goaltender to start the year was definitely a question/concern for the Colorado Avalanche heading into the season. But the way that Scott Wedgewood, the backup goaltender, has been performing and what he has put forth as far as his skills as a goaltender so far this season, it doesn't only live up to the hype of what the excitement of Mackenzie Blackwood starting the season out would have been. It's almost exceeded it, and it has put a ton of confidence and assurance in our goalie tandem, and it's honestly changed the way that Jared Bednar, the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, is going to approach the goaltending strategy and the goaltending conversation moving forward, and we have quotes and evidence and content to prove it. Back up this conversation that we're having today. We're talking all things goalie tandem, and we're talking all things Scott Wedgewood and Mackenzie Blackwood today on Avalanche Digest. Want to welcome you guys into the channel before we dive into the nitty gritty of this video. I want to remind you guys to make sure that you are subscribed to Avalanche Digest. If you're an Avs fan, if you're a hockey fan, if you are from Colorado and you're just getting into the Avalanche, any of that stuff, you are in the right place right now. Welcome to the Avs Digest family. Just want to ask you guys, please go hit that free subscribe button. Join the best possible source for Colorado Avalanche news, rumors, updates, trade rumors, anything circulating around the Colorado Avalanche at any point during the year. We are covering it. We are giving you our opinions and our thoughts right here on Avalanche Digest. So if you want to make sure you're getting your daily Colorado Avalanche updates, hit that free subscribe button. Join the fastest growing source for Colorado Avalanche news and updates. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you're part of that 22% that is subscribed, we appreciate you more than you know. We're almost to 1,500 subscribers. Obviously, our next huge goal is to get to 2,000 subscribers, but there's no ceiling for our growth. We want to get as big as we possibly can, and we need your guys' help and support in doing so. All right, without further ado, I want to dive into today's video. We're talking all things goalie tandem. Mentioned it already in the start of the video, but Mackenzie Blackwood obviously underwent a procedure at the end of last NHL season after the first round exit against the Dallas Stars, which evidently made him unable to start the season with the Colorado Avalanche healthy. He was still recovering from the procedure, still ironing out his health and getting ready to come back, but he wasn't ready for about the first 7 to 8 games of the season for the Colorado Avalanche. And that meant that Jared Bednar and the rest of the Colorado Avalanche roster had to rely on their backup goaltender in Scott Wedgewood to carry the boats and do the best that he could as a goaltender, essentially playing the role of a starting goaltender through these first few games and do the best that he can to help the Avs get off to a hot start, even though he is the backup goalie. And that's kind of the role that he knew he was taking on when he came into the Avs, when he was traded here at the start of last season. But Scott Wedgewood has not only met the expectations of what Avs fans were hoping for as far as a strong start to the season for goaltending and just an overall strong start goes, he has potentially exceeded those expectations. And it's not just fans and it's not just people in the media who are saying that he's exceeded the expectations. It's even the head coach of the Avs, Jared Bednar himself, talking about how much he has seen Scott Wedgewood play to such a high caliber and do so well. It's very exciting stuff. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. And we're going to dive into a quote from Altitude Sports Radio this morning that Jared Bednar had talking about Scott Wedgewood that really encompasses this whole situation and how much positivity there is moving forward in the Avs goalie tandem. So for Scott Wedgewood last night in a huge win against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a obviously gritty, high caliber contender team in the Eastern Conference, a team that put up a very solid fight against the Avs in the Stanley Cup Championship a few years back and has been a pretty solid team ever since. They have an MVP candidate player, Nikita Kucherov, on their team every season. Scott Wedgewood put up a very strong performance. 24 save attempts. He led in 2 goals, had 22 saves and a .917 save percentage. And I will say the 2 goals scored by the Tampa Bay Lightning, not fluky shots where Scott Wedgewood is, not letting in a goal that he shouldn't be. They were really strong goals, really efficient, good scoring One of them was a breakaway, and one of them was a wraparound goal by Nikita Kucherov, something that you just can't stop. Guys like Nikita Kucherov are going to score highlight reel goals like that every once in a while. But this game hasn't just been the excitement and the strong performance that Scott Wedgewood has had. It's been going on for the majority of the season, as he has been the primary goaltender, the starting goaltender, that is, for almost the entire season so far. And so looking at his stats and what he's been able to accomplish in 12 games played so far this season, he's got 8 wins, hasn't recorded a shutout yet, but he's recorded a lot of games where he's only letting in about 1 goal, has a .249 goals against average and a .902 save percentage. And as a goalie who is most commonly assuming the role of a backup goaltender, he has been playing very confidently in between the pipes for the Avs. And he's been, like I said, stepping into this role as sort of a starting goaltender, if you will. And that segues into kind of the conversation around how Jared Bednar is feeling about this situation and what we can think about and what we can potentially see looking forward. The coach's show on Altitude Sports Radio this morning, Jared Bednar joins Altitude every Wednesday morning. He was asked by Vic Lombardi of Altitude Sports, Blackie hasn't played in a while, Vic asked, why didn't Blackwood get the start last night? Why did you elect to give Wedgewood the nod instead of starting your now basically healthy starting goaltender? And this was Jared Bednar's response to the very valid question. Blackie hasn't played in a while. He's knocking off some rust, and I've liked Wedgie's game right now. He gets the nod in that kind of a game. That was Jared Bednar speaking on Scott Wedgewood getting the start against a very good team in the Eastern Conference, in the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that you're probably going to be putting your starting goaltender in between the pipes if both guys are healthy. But, obviously Mackenzie Blackwood maybe not up to 100% health, but even though he's just about there, it seems like Jared Bednar is really starting to feel this trust from Scott Wedgewood from the 12 games that he has this season and put that forward into potentially making the goalie tandem a little bit more of a flip-flop, evenly matched, consistent. We're letting these guys play a little bit more as far in comparison to, Blackwood gets much more of the majority of the starts and Wedgewood doesn't start as much. It's very exciting that Scott Wedgewood as a backup goaltender is able to have the performances that he's had. And if he can do this consistently all year, it can keep both of our goalies healthier and more rested and just help the Avs have a lot stronger of a season and give them a really good seed position for the playoffs. And another huge thing about Scott Wedgewood that we wanted to obviously mention is just his stats surrounding the league across all goalies, and all of where he ranks across all these different stats is pretty high up there. He's 10th in the league right now in goals against average, once again, as a backup goalie who's had to step into this role. It's pretty impressive that he's able to be within the top 10 in this specific statistic. And then Scott Wedgewood leads the league in wins by goalies. Out of every goalie in the league, Scott Wedgewood, the presumed backup goalie for the Avs, leads the league in wins. He has played a pivotal role in the Avs getting a handful of really good wins, really gritty wins, and it's given them the top place in the Central Division right now and among the top 3 in the entire league. And it's, he's played a huge role in that. And I think that speaks to the overall fact and the overall idea that Jared Bednar is most likely going to have the ability to rely on Scott Wedgewood a little bit more than he maybe presumed originally because of the Mackenzie Blackwood injury that kind of just had to be dealt with on the fly. And I mean, you look at Mackenzie Blackwood and his season last year and what he was able to accomplish. He is obviously a goalie that is capable of a lot of really high caliber performances, a lot of really high caliber talent. The difference between him and Georgiev as a starting goalie, night and day last year, it completely flipped the season around for the Colorado Avalanche. So as far as what he's going to be able to produce once he gets his rust knocked off and once he's fully back playing at a really high rate, that is going to be very exciting for the Avs as well and something to look forward to, because obviously Mackenzie Blackwood is healthy and he's ready to play, but it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a second to knock that rust off. But nevertheless, the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood has a very high ceiling for potential this year based on what he did with the Avs last year, in addition to the fact that Scott Wedgewood is performing at such a high rate, it poses a very exciting reality for the Colorado Avalanche and for Jared Bednar as a coach, considering that he has the ability to share time a lot more between these two goalies. Let Wedgewood get some starts against some, bigger, daunting opponents. Let him play against some of the games where we need to get a big win. He obviously thrives in that high pressure environment. He obviously does really well against these gritty teams who know how to put the puck in the right place and make the right plays down low and get the puck to the middle in the slot. He is really good with that kind of stuff. He's had some highlight reel saves this season. And I think what he's been able to accomplish and the fact that he leads the league in wins and is top 10 in goals against is really going to set a precedent for Jared Bednar being able to share time between these two goalies throughout the remainder of the season. And obviously, the end of this conversation to close things out is Blackwood is essentially 100% healthy and ready to start playing games more frequently. I think over the next few weeks here, we're really going to start seeing Blackwood get more starts and build himself back up to that starting goalie that we know he is. But in the meantime, if he's still knocking off some rust, Wedgewood is there to back him up. Wedgewood is there to support him. And I think in the next few weeks here, once the rust from Blackie is completely knocked off, we are going to have one of the strongest goalie tandems in the National Hockey League. And I don't think anybody expected that coming into this NHL season. That's going to do it for us today on Avalanche Digest. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, if you're not subscribed, go hit that free subscribe button. Join the best possible source for Colorado Avalanche news and updates. We will be keeping you updated on all things Avs hockey as usual, so make sure you're staying tuned to all the videos that we're posting. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and until next time, go Avs.